place we used to be. Do you still recall the lightness in the air? And do you still see the smiling faces in this wonder world called heaven? Do you still think of the times when you were free in this golden world called heaven? And everywhere the love shining from the faces. Do you still believe in this magic? Do you believe in heaven? Believe in heaven. Is it a dream or is this reality? Is it past or yet to come? Just look within, you find we were and again will be together in heaven. Together in heaven.
Om Shanti, good evening, and a very warm welcome, Brother Charlie, and to everyone present here and those of you who have joined us online. So we are very fortunate to have Brother Charlie with us. May I know how many of you don't know Brother Charlie or who is seeing Brother Charlie for the first time? So basically everybody knows Brother Charlie, or is this the translation? So I will still introduce Brother Charlie for those who have joined us online. So Brother Charlie came to Gyan or to Baba in 1975 in the UK, and he's one of the first few double foreigners who has emerged, sustained and nurtured by Dadi Janki in his spiritual childhood. And he is currently the National Coordinator of Brahma Kumaris in Australia, and he's also Didi Nirmala's right hand for the regional coordination in Asia. And the speciality that I see in Brother Charlie is that of lightness. He's very easy nature. He's like an elder brother with whom you can share everything, and he also like a mother, even though he's in a male costume, he has the sanskaras of a mother who is very caring, who looks after you. So we're very fortunate to have today with us. And the topic for today is creating our golden age stage. So I hand over to Brother Charlie.
So thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Sister Darity. It's so lovely to be here, and I think we're incredibly lucky to be in Madhaban at this time, in this incredible atmosphere. Do you feel that? Everyone feeling that? I'm sure it's a silly question, yes. And I was meeting some of the Australian family this morning, and I was sharing that, you know, when you don't get something in life, it's harder to achieve, you appreciate it more. You know how life is like that? And I was sharing with them that I took it for granted every year you come to Madhaban. I used to come twice every year. But the last few years we haven't been able to. So when we come, it's like you really value Madhaban even more. And I think many of us would have heard Daddy Janki's mantra. Remember Daddy Janki's mantra? There's 3 things that Brahmins love: Baba, the Moli, and Madhaban. Is that true? Yeah, I really feel that is very true. So what I'd like to do is just share perhaps a few of my experiences about, you know, what are the signs, what are the feelings that I'm moving towards my original state, my golden aged state. And I hope there'll be some time for some questions. I'm sure there will be. So, can you see the trees of heaven? Who can see the trees of heaven? 4 or 5 only? Everyone's going like this. You know, sometimes I think that 87 years of the confluence age have gone by. Baba always says there'll be about 900,000 at the beginning of the Golden Age. There's probably that many Brahmins now. And so all the indicators for the final scenes are here. And we feel it anyway. So what does that really mean? It really means the Golden Age is so close. And in one sense, in the terms of the entire cycle of time, it's seconds away. But it's probably just a matter of a few years away. And sometimes I remind myself that Baba is creating an extraordinary world for all of us. Such a world, I don't think we can really appreciate at this moment the beauty of the Golden Age. And I had an experience early in my Brahmin life. I took Gyan in London, as Darity was saying, and I moved back to Australia. And one day a small group of us went down to the beach and we had meditation at sunset. And it was absolutely a beautiful sunset in a national park. It was so quiet. And suddenly I had a sense that I was in a viman. And I felt like a bird just flying. It was absolutely silently, just flying through the valleys, over the trees and the hills in such an incredible way. And it felt like, you know, nature had a personality, and that nature was welcoming me with a lot of love, and I was welcoming nature. I felt like I was one. It was an extraordinary feeling of the incredible sense of belonging in the Golden Age. And I also remember, early in my Brahmin days, a group of us went up to Guru Shikha, which is the very top of Mount Abu. And we went with Daddy Manoharindra. And in those days, trance was common. It was common to go into trance. And so we all sat in front of her, and she gave us drishti with the aim to send us into trance so we could experience the Golden Age. Unfortunately, I didn't go. But one brother, a young brother from London, he went into trance, and he was completely away. And when he came back, we were driving back into Madhaban in the old Madhaban bus. And we were asking him, what did you experience? And really, I can remember he had tears streaming down his face. And he said, you can't imagine the beauty of that world. And he was saying it just pulsates with an atmosphere of love and closeness and belonging. And often I think that's our intrinsic memory. We have this memory of our golden age stage, this stage of which is so natural and yet so elevated. And yet we're all living in this world of complications. Every day we have faced with so many challenges and so many difficulties. And we're dealing with my sanskaras, dealing with other people's sanskaras, dealing with service and these sorts of things. And sometimes I feel, for me, I get so absorbed in now, and yet the trees of heaven are so close. And yet when we listen to Baba's Murli, what does Baba say? Baba says, children, remember me and the inheritance. And honestly, I feel I do make the effort to remember Baba. In fact, I'm paying more and more attention to that. But I don't think I really make the effort to really feel how close I am to that golden aged world. And, I feel that this is something which is really important because my golden aged stage is created here and now. Whatever sanskaras I'm going to take to the golden age have to be created here. They're not just going to naturally emerge. And do you remember the Murli we heard on Sunday about a week ago? It really touched me how, in a sense, Baba was describing what is number-wise, this incredible word. I think it's a classic word in the Brahman world. And it's not a judgmental world, it's just the reality of life. And Baba really said, number-wise is fundamentally based on how much Gyan and yoga I absorb now. And what Baba said was, when I absorb all of God's truth and I have that quality of connection, that automatically flows into my dharana. It's a natural flow that I have all the virtues, all the powers, all the qualities, that personality, that divine personality. If I don't absorb all the knowledge and truth from Baba and have that quality of yoga, then my capacity is limited. And so it only flows in a limited way into my dharana. And in a way, this really is creating my future. Whatever I absorb in Gyan and Yoga now will flow into my personality. And that personality of the Golden Age, in a sense, that dharana, is really creates my position, my part, my role. I don't know about you, but sometimes I think that whatever I'm doing now is creating my golden aged part. In fact, my whole part of the whole cycle, my eternal part, is being created at this time now. So in a sense, how much have I absorbed? And I reflect on this, and there's some sanskaras which help me understand how far I've gone towards my golden age stage. And for me, there's one intrinsic sanskara of the golden age. I would say the sanskara, or the nature that defines the golden age. The sanskara, which is the epitome of being a deity, the nature of being a deity. It's like the pinnacle feeling, and that is happiness. And I wonder if you ask your heart honestly, am I happy? I've taken on this life, and the fundamental sanskara that I'm creating now is to be happy. I remember once even reading a Murli Baba spoke, and Baba said, children, the aim of Brahman life is to be constantly happy. that Baba has given this life to lead a life of happiness. And yet, when you think about that, we're living in this incredibly challenging world, such a difficult world, and yet Baba's still saying that within all the challenges that all of us have on a daily basis, an hourly basis, every minute in a sense living in this world, God's truth is to create a sanskara of imperishable happiness. And I sometimes ask myself, do I have that spiritual happiness? Do I have that imperishable happiness? Do I have that inner happiness? Because we all walked into Brahman life and we did experience happiness, but the iron-aged happiness is temporary happiness. And this has formed our thinking, our sanskaras. It's the framework of our whole perception of life, is we have happiness and we come back. We have happiness, it's all temporary. Temporary relationships, temporary roles, temporary wealth, temporary health, temporary praise. Absolutely everything is temporary. And yet what Baba is really saying, to create a golden aged happiness, I have to shift my foundation from everything which is temporary and build it on a solid framework which is permanent. And that is knowledge and yoga, as Baba was saying. To really build my happiness on that which is permanent. And I ask, in a sense, how far have I shifted from basing my life on everything temporary to basing my life on only that which is permanent? How far have I really made that journey? How far have I moved on that journey? Am I happy? Am I happy a lot of the time? Am I happy sometimes? Am I happy very occasionally? Or am I sort of unhappy a lot of the time? What is really happening here? And, I think that there's many different types of happiness of the old world that all of us experience. And this has been the way we've achieved happiness, and yet Baba's changing us in this our approach. And one of them I call fizzy drink happiness. Do you know the fizzy drink happiness? Everyone know that happiness? That's the happiness that goes fizz bubble and goes flat really quickly. And that really is temporary happiness. It's the happiness through the senses. Now this has defined the copper and iron age. We've achieved, it is happiness. We do feel happy, but we keep coming back. And this happiness is very addictive. Because I feel happy, I want more, and so I become addicted. It's the happiness of, Diwali, having that temporary fun. It's the happiness of food. It's the happiness of company. You get it, you come back. You get it, and you come back. So there's the fizzy drink style, the temporary style. There's another I call the mask, which is a superficial form of happiness, which is very common in this world, that on the surface you're bubbly, you're happy, hi, great to see you, everything, but inside you don't feel happy at all. You become an actor. You're performing happiness, but how you feel internally is something different. The third type I call the because syndrome. And this is the conditional happiness of life today. I could be happy, but I can't because of what you said to me. Because this isn't happening. Because you didn't do the dishes. Because you said I'm fat. Whatever it is, there's always a reason to be unhappy, the because syndrome. I could be happy, but because of this, I can't be. This is conditional happiness. Or even there's another one which I call relative happiness, where I compare with others. And because I'm not so badly off as them, I don't feel so bad about my own life. And this has been the framework of happiness for us in the second half of the cycle. Temporary happiness, superficial happiness, conditional happiness, relative happiness. But Baba is teaching us true happiness, permanent happiness. And it's fully self-contained. It's not happiness through the sensual happiness, the happiness I get from seeing and hearing and touching and feeling. Even emotional happiness, which is the happiness through relationship, through connection with others, through those feelings, which is a really powerful form of temporary happiness at the end of the cycle. But Baba is offering us this super sensuous happiness. I love that word, I don't know about you, which is a happiness beyond the senses. The happiness that isn't really dependent on anything external whatsoever. And in a sense, now as I'm creating my golden aged stage, I have to move the foundation of my joy and well-being in life from anything temporary to only building it on a permanent foundation. Because I feel the law says that if I'm not feeling that happy, then I have to look, I am somewhere basing my life on something temporary. And this is really, my experience in one sense is the journey with Baba, the journey to the golden aged stage, is this incredible journey of letting go all the temporary supports. What is life in the Iron Age? I build up all these temporary supports to give me a sense of who I am. And when they go, when someone dies or whatever, my whole world shakes. And yet, we leave the Iron Aged world. We leave a lot of temporary supports. And that's an incredibly great achievement, but I feel often we rebuild them in Brahman life. Yes, I wear my white clothes. Yes, I've got my badge on. I use the language, I love Baba, I have faith in Baba. But I rebuild my temporary support structures because it's my habit. It's what I've known for a long time. So I try to achieve it through the atmosphere of the Brahman family, or some respect or acknowledgement or response from others, or a role I play or a position. And we all know that I think most of us, it's inevitable we go down that road. And I don't think it's even wrong. But then we become unhappy again, even within Brahman life. We don't feel that happy because I'm still seeking things from that which is perishable and temporary. And to me, this is when really I start to build the real foundation of Brahman life, when I begin to let go all the supports, and fundamentally my happiness comes from the support of Gyan and Yoga with Baba. And I've found it really interesting over the last few years because, all the supports have been going. Just before COVID, we'd come here and we'd meet Avyak Bap Dada. And we'd meet lots of daddies were here. Now they're not here anymore. And then COVID began. And then we couldn't even go to the center. So even the supports within our Brahman journey are starting to go. We couldn't even meet the Brahman family. That's why I think we're enjoying it so much now, because we have that connection. We couldn't even do service like we did before. So what we do is we sort of create our temporary happiness from things, but they're taken away. And I think it's the healthiest thing. All the supports are going, because fundamentally, if I'm to have that golden aged stage, I have to really, everything I've accumulated in the cycle, I have to let go, and make Baba my fundamental support. And this to me is what really has been happening, in a sense through COVID. And for me, we just let go. And yet, the more you let go, the lighter, the happier you feel. You have a true sense of happiness, even though the addiction often is to go back and take temporary support from others. So I would say, for me, asking my heart, how happy am I? How consistently happy am I? Is a real indicator how close I am to my stage of the Golden Age. The second thing I would say is around, to really give me an indicator now how I'm creating my Golden Age stage, is complete state of purity. In the sense, for me, my sense of purity is I'm not influenced by anybody. That's real purity. I live in this world. I'm not attracted to anyone, not even in a gross way, a subtle way, or even a refined way. And I don't dislike anyone, even in a gross way, a subtle way, or refined way. I don't reject anybody. I live in the family. I live in the world. I'm fully engaged in relationship. And yet, I'm not really influenced. To me, what is impurity? When we start the cycle, we are not influenced by anything. We're full. We don't need anything. We don't desire. And when you don't desire anything, you're not influenced by anything. But when we come to the copper age, I just have a little desire for you to love me, respect me. And the law says, whatever I desire will influence me. Whatever I desire will influence me. And by the end of the cycle, sometimes I feel we become so fragile, so delicate, so everything outside, a facial expression, a word, one comment or little thing can just rock my stage. My whole heart can drop. We've become absolutely vulnerable, mainly to other people. And to me, in a sense, the whole of this life is rebuilding my stage back to the time where I was invincible, in a sense. I was living, I was in family, I was in relationship, but I was never influenced at all. And for me, the way I can tell sort of my purity, if I can say, or how much I'm influenced, is by my reactions to others. I think, my reactions to others really gives me an indicator of my stage. If I still really have the habit of disliking people, I just have a strong dislike. It may only be for one person, a real dislike. If I reject people or I reject someone, if I hold a grudge, something's happened, I just cannot let it go, I cannot forgive, I would say it's still indicating to me, my sanskaras are still iron aged. My sanskaras are still tamo pradhan. And to me, it's not about the other person. No matter how other people behave, they are the instrument to trigger feelings in me that show me, they're still sitting in me. They're showing me where I'm at, what is my state. So if I dislike, I reject, I don't speak to people, I just ignore somebody. I would say still, it's indicating me I've still got my toes in my iron aged state still. What is the copper age? I would say that's still when my habit is to keep seeing defects. I just notice the defect really easily. I tune in. It's almost like a subconscious thing. Or I get easily upset. Something happens, little thing, and I really let it affect me deeply. Or even one thing I often feel is mental criticism. I may not say much, but I'm often disapproving of how you are and how things are around me. If still my reactions to people are disapproval and these sorts of things, I would say still I'm dabbling in my copper-aged sanskaras. What are silver-aged sanskaras? I would say I have a natural love for people, a natural sense of goodwill for others. I suspend my habit of judging, and I offer people mercy. I offer people those feelings of mercy. So it's almost like the sanskaras are cleaning up, and my natural tendency is to see good in people. I noticed when the daddies in their final years, they could only see good in others. Their natural vision was to see the beauty, and that's why we loved them. We felt safe around them because they tuned into our goodness. But what is the golden age stage? You know, how can I tell really in the whole world of relationships that I've really moved to a golden age stage? I'm preparing myself to go back to that most elevated time of human relationships. I would say in one sense that if somebody has no love for me, and we all have that in life sometimes, for whatever reason, and yet I don't resort to resentment, hurt, giving those feelings back. I maintain goodwill and pure feelings. I think it's probably the biggest challenge, wouldn't you feel? That when someone has no love for me, I can maintain goodwill for them. If someone is jealous of me, and so because of that, they put obstacles in my way, there's always obstructions, and yet I don't get disturbed by it. I don't allow my stage to shake because this person is competitive with me. Or if someone defames me. And, what did Didi Manmohini say? Didi Manmohini used to say, defamation is the toli of Sangam Yuga. Can I ask who's ate that toli in their Brahman life? Most of us. It's a part of the journey. And I think, it's not that it shouldn't happen. This whole life is to make me absolutely strong and powerful. Because I remember once Daddy Janki saying, she feels only 95% of Brahmins try to prove themselves and defend themselves. So when we're defamed, we try to prove my position and defend myself. And yet really, I think Baba wants us to come to this incredible stage where, I really am not influenced by others. And I know for me on my personal journey, because when I started, one of my realizations was how sensitive I was and how easily affected I was by other people. And this whole journey towards purity is the journey to being not influenced by others. And where does that journey happen? It happens in this amazing family. Sometimes people feel hurt by others, upset, criticized, so they want to change. They want to go to a place where that won't happen. We're missing the most important opportunity of self-transformation. Because I feel Baba's training to create that golden age stage is to live in the heart of this family and take sorrow from absolutely no one. Even if sorrow is coming my way, I don't accept it. That really is what I would call is purity, in a sense. And, for me recently, seeing the world, and I think, at different times I think, what do I need? Everything's changing, and sometimes we just make the same efforts over many years, but actually we have to adjust to what is happening. And to me, the most important thing I felt at the moment is to be detached, but Baba's detachment. And that is to be really loving, really caring, really close in the heart of the family, but uninfluenced by. This is the deity sanskara. The deity sanskara, the golden age stage, is to be completely loving and completely detached. As I often mention, who is the most loving? It's Baba. Who is the most detached? Drama. I was going to say Baba, but drama too. But really, it is our intrinsic and original sanskara to be detached. what is detachment? Detachment is natural. It's my natural intrinsic sanskara, like peace. But often we don't think, oh, in the Golden Age it's all love and closeness. Yes, but how? Because we're completely and naturally detached. We have no expectation. We're not influenced in a natural way. It's because I build up this detachment now that I can live in the Golden Age and have these harmonious relationships. How to become detached? I often think a lot of us get to this point where we absolutely realize I have to be more detached from so many different things, uninfluenced. And things happen and we chant the mantra, I must be detached, I must be detached. And my heart's going boom, 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 and my mind's going like this. But I really feel the more I'm going on, and what I really think is my golden aged stage is that which is natural. And the natural byproduct of a relationship with one Baba, a really deep, loving, yogi relationship with one, you will become naturally detached. If you live with Daddy Ji, Daddy Janki, Daddy Gulzar, how sweet, how loving, but they were completely uninfluenced. I remember I was in a meeting with Daddy Janki, and I can't even remember what the meeting was about, and someone ran in a sort of a bit of an excited state and said, Daddy, Daddy, this brother just left his body 5 minutes ago in Gyan Vigyan Bhavan, in Pandav Bhavan. And mostly the human reaction is, what happened? That's Daddy straight away. Oh, my sweet brother, my lovely brother. And she just went on about his virtues, like, in such a natural way. Because, this purity, which is to live in this world and not be influenced by behaviors, attitudes, opinions, vibrations, atmospheres. This is a real sign that I'm moving into my Golden Age stage. This is a sign for me that I don't allow life to keep driving my thinking because I'm just influenced. Of course it takes practice. But I feel that the more I have that depth of connection with Baba, the natural consequence is Baba pulls me beyond influence. I'm in this world, but I'm beyond the gravity of all the drama in the world. And I become a natural, detached observer of what's happening. And so, moving towards the Golden Age stage, a natural sanskara of happiness starts to emerge. A natural sanskara of purity, not influenced by people. And don't even, if something happens, I don't overthink about it. But also, one thing for me is freedom. I think, one way I feel that in my Golden Age stage I really relate to is I live in this world, I am responsible, I do service, I contribute, I'm in the Brahmin family, I'm often busy, but mentally I'm completely free. I feel absolutely light and free. And I don't feel burdened by anything. I don't have the habit to worry about outcomes and this sort of thing. And to me, that sanskara of freedom is also absolutely intrinsic to the state of the Golden Aged, the deity soul, just to feel how wonderful is, that feeling when you feel absolutely light and free. You just feel this incredible lightness. It's a wonderful feeling. And I've thought a lot about this because what I've observed in myself, that the more I practice to be a soul, it helps work through the ego of who I am. But the more I practice to be an instrument, it helps me work through the ego of what I do. Because I think a lot of us practice soul consciousness and we lose the ego of the body. But we often carry on the ego of doing, and And then when I do things, there's outcomes. And if they don't work, I feel heavy, I feel burdened, I feel frustrated. And yet, I think what we're learning is, to do action and not feel burdened. And sometimes I think, we all walk into Brahman life, we carry the burden of the past. I have done this whole story in my memory track. We identify with it, creates heaviness. I don't feel free. The burden of responsibility, that's an incredibly deep thing. To be responsible is such a beautiful sanskara, but most of us when we are responsible, we feel heavy about it. And that really, I think, shuts down a lot of the joy of the confluence age. Even the burden of problems. I've experienced that when I first started in service and stuff and things went wrong, I felt heavy about it. I felt responsible. And that habit, I have to fix the problem. I'm responsible to sort it out. No, it's Baba's. It's Baba's responsibility. Really, my duty is to be responsible, to help fix things, but to remain light. Even the burden of self-transformation. Sometimes I think, I have to change. I have to sort out myself. Actually, I think when I'm really loving Baba and following what he tells me, it will be a natural thing. The burden of service. I have to get results. I have to get outcomes. Things have to grow. The centre has to expand. Or my service area. Everything we do, often we associate that burden, and then we lose that lightness of the deity sanskara is to be a free spirit. Who loves to be a free spirit? Wow, got a good response there. I love that incredible sense. There's nothing heavy inside, even while living and being responsible. Even the burden of relationship, that I have to be liked. People have to like me. So what happens? I think, sometimes I think so many subtle things. Sometimes I think a part of this whole thing of not being free, we often feel obligation in relationship. Someone does something for me, someone's kind to me, someone helps me, I feel obligated, I have to do the same back to you. No, I think we're obligated to Baba. Now I may love to help you. I want to help you, I want to support, I want to contribute, but I shouldn't feel obligated. That obligation makes you, once again, you come back from that lightness into that heaviness. Even the expectations and, all of these don't allow the soul to fly, the spirit to fly, the spirit to soar. The expectations and sometimes when we have expectations, we want things to happen, we become control freaks, because we are so attached to an outcome, a result, or how things should be. I know when I started my Brahman life, I had a real image of how the centre should be and how things should be. And when they weren't like that, I'd feel a little bit heavy, I'd feel responsible. But I've learned now to let that go. It's really Baba's work. And when we feel like that, we want to control outcomes. We become very controlling, sometimes not consciously, that we try to manipulate outcomes to sort of support what I need so that things happen in the way I want. Even trying to please other people. A people pleaser. I think I was really a people pleaser. And, so you seek other people's approval. And yet I think moving towards the golden age stage, it's like I feel free. I feel I'm responsible, I'm in relationship, I'm doing service, I'm in the Brahman family, but I feel absolutely light and free. And to me, this is a real indicator that the soul's really moving forward and progressing a lot spiritually. And another thing for me that is a real indicator that I'm getting closer to my golden age stage, where is my whole attitude towards death. You know, we're about to, even in this life, I honestly believe the world's going to get so bad. I think we'll be so ready to leave our bodies. I honestly feel this is the first life of the 21. It's going to get so bad, we'll feel, it's enough, Baba. We've got to go. Because I think that's, you know, one of the most powerful fears in the human soul at the end of the cycle is my mortality. Even in we Brahmins, you know, we know about the soul, we believe it, and we teach it to others. But when death happens to a close relative, or I'm facing my own death, that's a real indicator. How light am I at that time? Am I prepared for the transition? Because I think, Baba, this is a real sign to me that I'm soul conscious, that I've really absorbed that knowledge and that yoga. My foundation is a true, based on truth. And therefore, I understand that everything's going to change and we're all going to leave the body. And in the golden age, it's the most natural thing. They have control over when they leave their body. Even now, many people have control over when they leave their body. It's a known fact that when people have relatives and stuff, you know, and they're dying, they have children in another place. Doctors think they've got a week to live. They'll live 6 months, see their children, and then they go. And so I think that to remove all that sort of heaviness around the soul leaving a body and continuing its journey is a real sign that the framework of my thinking is really moved out of the Iron Age and the Copper Age. And I'm really, even now, I'm starting to live in my Silver and Golden Aged consciousness. And another thing, and I'll finish in a minute, for me, which I really love about the Golden Age, which is the opposite of this world, is non-violence. You know, we're living in such an increasingly violent world. And yet, you know, sometimes do I have violent thoughts myself? What is a violent thought? Criticism, seek defect, disapproval. In a sense, that's a refined form of violence. In the Golden Age, just imagine everyone you meet, their thoughts will be thoughts of belonging, care, love. There's absolutely no energy of that violence or criticism or put down or disrespect. And where does that begin? I think the whole sanskara of violence begins with violence against the self. You know, that I criticize myself, I put myself down, I tell myself constantly I'm not good enough. You know, that that sanskara is very much an iron-aged, copper-aged, devotional, religious sanskara. God, you're so great. I'm so low, I'm so impure, I'm so weak. And I think even now, you know, have you noticed with some people you feel very safe around them? You just feel comfortable, you can be who yourself, because I think their thoughts are clean, their thoughts are benevolent, their thoughts are non-violent. They're not subtly putting down or finding fault. And when someone has that aura in that feeling, it creates an atmosphere and you feel really safe. In a sense, all these are like indicators of the soul moving towards my golden aged stage at this time. And, how close is the golden age? Sometimes I feel for myself that I'm so absorbed in now, in the confluence age, in service, and yet really the golden age is so close. And I feel Baba wants us to engage, because I find for me, even just thinking a little bit about this topic, the more you start to think about the inheritance, the more you become aware of what I need to do to really prepare my golden aged state now. And I used to feel, I don't know what you think, but Daddy Gozar was like a living deity. When you were around her, how did you feel? The purity, her absolute gentleness, which is a complete state of non-violence, her goodwill, her love, her whole persona. It's like she had moved right to that incredible golden aged state now, at this time. And I think, it's invoking us. Do you feel your deity's self is invoking you? Because I sometimes think the whole part is in the soul. The whole part, from the first second of the golden age to the last second before we go home. What's our part? Our part is to re-engage with our golden aged stage. And it's like it's in the confluence age. It's invoking me, that feeling. It's really invoking me to step into that elevated state of self-respect, which is really my golden aged stage. So anyway, I'm going to finish up there, and I don't know whether anyone wants to ask something. Do we have a microphone? Or if you have a good voice, if anyone would like to make a comment or ask something or share something, please feel free. Yes, maybe you have the microphone, everyone can hear. It'd be nice, Jos, if you introduce yourself just briefly too.
Thank you for giving your personal experiences. Can you explain a bit about the differences you experience, about the difference between confluence aged happiness and golden aged happiness? Is there a difference?
Yes.
Could you explain?
Yeah, I'll try. You didn't introduce yourself.
My name is Jos, I'm from Holland. And happy to be here for a long time. And after COVID, as you said already, it's beautiful to be back. It's really a great enjoyment.
Thank you, Jos. It's nice to know where people are from. And I think the happiness of now is a super sensuous happiness. And that means a happiness which is totally, purely based on truth. The truth of who I am, the truth of who God is, and my relationship with God. That is what is feeding my spirit with that happiness. But because of that, I become pure. And so in the golden age, it is a world of sensual experience and relationship. And so I do get happiness from those things, but I'm not dependent on them. And so the golden age is the experience of happiness of nature, happiness of relationship, happiness of company, family, all of that. But because I've done the work and the soul is pure, it's a natural expression. It's the happiness of being in the human body, but because the soul is pure, I get happiness through all those sensual things and even relationship and so on. Why? Because I did the work now at the confluence age. where I become a self-contained system. I'm living in this world, but I create happiness in myself. And the incredible thing is that when I do that, I have complete control over my happiness now. You know, if I can really take happiness from Gyan and Yoga, then I'm a self-contained system. It doesn't matter the atmosphere out there, how people are, what's going on. I can still, because of the tools I have, the knowledge and the truth and the relationship with Baba, I can create it. Now maybe you're thinking, wow, you know, he's talking about here, because we're all in transition. But I really feel, you know, I often feel we underestimate ourselves. You know, we will reach that state. And I think that, what does Baba say? Gyan, Bhakti, Virag. Gyan is the golden and silver age, the result of Gyan. Bhakti is the copper and iron age. Virag is now, we will have so much disinterest in this world. It will come absolutely naturally, because it even is coming now, I think, to a lot of us, because almost everything in this world is causing sorrow. And the more that happens, the more I'm going to go and create this self-contained happiness, you know, which is really what Baba is trying to teach us now. Yeah, so it is different, I think, because the Golden Age is the pure form of sensual happiness, emotional happiness, created from the work I do now. Oh, she walked right down there and right up there. I thought she was going to ask a question. Oh. She's giving happiness to everybody. Thank you. So does anyone else want to? Yes.
Om Shanti, I'm Vandana from USA, Boston. As you were sharing, Brother Charlie, I kept going back to what is happiness in Hindi, and I think I was just thinking of this, like, there is nothing like, I think it's sukh, isn't it? It's not that I'm happy, like you were saying. And for some reason, as you were sharing that, I was just reflecting on my own day or days, and what I was thinking was, if I could be happy, sukh, at Amrit Vela, maybe that what will get me to my golden age. Because I do feel sukh in my interaction, relations, you know, as in Brahmin life. But I must say, I don't, at least when I was a young Brahmin, I used to think I should feel fireworks at Amrit Vela. I've realized that. So I was just wondering, how do you use your Amrit Vela to create this experience of, you know, the happiness that you're sharing, so that, because I think for me, I feel it's a key to getting there.
Yeah, one of my aims coming this time, and I've been sharing a little bit, was once we were a group of older brothers from the foreign countries met Baba, and Baba chatted beautifully, as Baba always did, but Baba said in the conversation maybe 5 times, create new experiences in yoga. And coming here this time, that is my main aim, because I really do believe that many of us, when we start, we have a few magical experiences. We feel bodiless, we feel God's love, we feel things that just shift me into Brahman life. But after a while, it just levels out. And so when I don't have new experiences, we need newness. We start to look back to the old things again, to relationships, even pure ones in the Brahman family, service for my stimulation, my newness. And I think, it's a real art form, I think, to, experiment in the laboratory of my mind to unpack a truth and feel it, taste it, experience it. To me, there's nothing that sustains us more in Brahman life than when I convert what I know into what I feel. But that's quite an education to, like, say, I have the aim at Amrit Vela to really experience this imperishable happiness, Baba, and start to explore it. It's like researching. And to me, the research is not to get an intellectual analysis of it, is to feel this, that incredible light, joy, that sense of well-being. I find when I feel that, I feel so strong. When you feel happy, you feel incredibly strong inside. And I do think that, I've been through so many phases in my Brahma life. You can wake up for Amrit Vela, and just go through the motions. Baba says to do it. I love Baba. And yeah, I will churn a bit, and then I'll think a bit about what I have to do, and, we travel all around the universe. But to really have an aim to experience what's the real feeling of being a deity, what's the real feeling of true happiness? What's the feeling of being a conqueror of death? Really, what's the feeling? Not just the belief, the really experiment to feel. And sometimes I think they can go over weeks to try to unpack truth so that it becomes an experience. Because in a way, what is the golden age? We have the knowledge in our intellect now, but we're the natural form of it in the golden age. We're the natural form of the truth we learn now. That just is who I am in the future. So we're a living form of happiness, purity, and peace because we tasted it and experienced it now. And I think it's a challenge sometimes, because you may do that, I've done it, and you don't get very far. You're still more thinking than feeling. But if you keep practicing, I think you break down this religious sanskara. Once I know knowledge, that's the end point, But actually for Baba, that's the beginning. And I've shared this so many times because it had such a big impact on me, was in 1985, we did the realization course. And Baba said to the foreigners, do the realization course. And we all did the course again. We did the 7-day course. And you know what Baba said? Baba said, do the course to experience, not just know the information. And Baba said, you know the knowledge, you believe the knowledge, you teach the knowledge, but you don't experience the knowledge. And then Baba said, every point of knowledge has an associated experience. So often once we know the point, we think that's it, I know it. But actually, unpacking that truth so it becomes an experience. So when I unpack the soul, I experience total peace constantly. When I really unpack Baba, the knowledge of God, I have a completely fulfilling, 100% fulfilling natural love and relationship in my life, When I unpack the 3 worlds, I'll be completely detached from this material. And I think, I think it's really a really interesting thing to do. And once I was staying with Jagdish Pai in Shaktinagar in Delhi, and I said to him, what's the most important thing for someone like me? I was fairly new in Gyan, and straight away he said, new experiences every day. Because honestly, I really feel we have them at the beginning, that stops, and that's, we move along more of devotee Brahmins, devotional Brahmins, religious Brahmins, than really experience, and it's an art form, I think, to transform knowledge into an experience. But that's what Amrit Vela is. And in a way, the mind of a deity. Have you ever thought, what's the mind of a deity like? The mind of the iron-aged soul is thinking, so much thinking. It's like a jungle. My head's like a jungle. And just a little bit of experience. To me, it's the opposite in the Golden Age. I often think of a deity thought, like, when they have a drop going into a pond in slow motion, you know how sometimes they film a drop just slowly drops and it hits the water and then ripples just go out. I think we have a thought, and that thought just creates a whole fragrance in my mind through my face and into the atmosphere. Each thought, less thought, and each thought creates a whole fragrance, a whole feeling, a perfume in my mind, That was the power of pure thoughts of the Golden Age. And it's like we want to experience that now, the feelings associated with that. It's always been a bit of a quest of mine. How do you move from knowing into really experiencing? Yeah. Okay, I'm looking at the time unless there's something else. Yes.
I asked you, happiness is from your heart. When you're happy, you will giving only.
Yeah.
And you will see the people, you are self happy, and you make the other happy too.
Yeah.
It's my experiment. And people is happy with you.
Yeah.
And service come to you. And you have so much love for the other.
Yeah.
Is this true?
I totally think it's true. I agree.
My English is a little bad.
It's why I feel service is such an important subject for us. And a lot of Brahmins think, service makes me tired, service makes me heavy. But what is service? It's giving. Service is giving. And you know what happens? The more you give, the less you let go the habit to take sorrow, take disrespect, take all that stuff. What really is this life, I think, is to remember one and give. That is the definition of a beautiful Brahman life. Whether I live in a family, home, or a center, it doesn't matter. Every interaction, and even if I'm not with others, if my sense is that I'm an instrument of Baba to give, and I think the giving, sometimes I think as Brahmins we can get self-absorbed. My life, my story, my problems, my issues. We just get so self-absorbed, but actually that just weighs you down. We've got to give. Now we have to sort things out. There's no doubt, but the real of this life is to take from Baba and give. I couldn't agree more, and I think that the deity Sanskara, they're not consciously give, they naturally give. Everyone they meet, they give love, they give respect, they give cooperation. It's a natural Sanskara created from now. Maybe... Yeah, sure. Yeah, no problem. So let's just have a few minutes of meditation till 7:30, and maybe really have that thought, what's the feelings inside for you, your golden age stage, rather than analysing too much about now, but really create a feeling. What's the feeling internally of when I'm really in my deity stage?
So let's thank Brother Charlie for really sharing with us the different indicators where we can identify how far or how close we are. Yeah, okay. So there is this request, if you can do the commentary. And I guess maybe in the next half an hour, I think you're going to give us the visions of the golden age. Isn't that, Brother Charlie? All right. And just before we head into the meditation, the workshop that we have tomorrow, Sister Antonella, it's not a day workshop. It's just from 10:30 to 12:30. So if you still would like to register, after 7:30, if you can go to Global Office and register. So it's just a 2 hours workshop. Om Shanti.
Let me sit quietly. And put down phones, devices. And let me reflect. My entire part is sitting within me now. Every millisecond of the 5,000 years is recorded in my memory track. The recording at the beginning of the cycle. I was a divine being. Naturally happy. Naturally loving. Naturally free. No concept of heaviness or overthinking or worrying. And now I sit at the end of the cycle. I'm under the influence of my old self. Influenced by others, affected by scenes of drama, feeling heavy about so many things. But I've now found Baba. And Baba reminds me that the recording of perfection is still within. I'm now in this incredible transition of stepping out of the influence of the present set of sanskars. And as my intellect is filled with Baba's truth and yoga, I start to be influenced by my original set. Just allow yourself to feel the lightness of your deity sanskars. Feel the heaviness going. I was in a family, in a society, being responsible, but absolutely light. Just feel yourself becoming completely light. And with that, an inner joy. I'm not imagining this. This happiness is my intrinsic and natural, original sanskar. Baba said the whole aim of my Brahman life is to be constantly happy, to re-emerge this sanskara. Just allow yourself to taste this mind that is so light, so free, so pure, so clean. It's not imagination. It's just beginning to let go the old identity with my impure sanskars and identify with my golden-aged sanskars. Keep asking yourself, how does it feel? How does it feel, this golden aged stage? Beyond all fear of death. A mind that is completely non-violent. And a naturally benevolent feeling for everyone. How does it feel? The golden age is coming so close. My golden aged stage is invoking me.
हम धन्य तभी बन पाएंगे जब ऐसा प्रिय जीवन होगा। यहाँ हमारा तन होगा, वहाँ हमारा मन होगा। जहाँ होता है मानव का धन, वहीं होता है उसका मन। इसलिए परमात्मा ने बताया, मुझसे लगा लो अपना मन। हम सा नहीं कोई जमाने में, रचना रचता का ज्ञान जिसे, पर ऐसा भी बनना होगा, नहीं कभी अभिमान जिसे। यहाँ हमारा तन होगा, वहाँ हमारा मन होगा। ये दुनिया तो मायावी है, माया से भला कैसी यारी। अपने तो दो ही ठिकाने हैं, वैकुंठ दुनिया निराकारी। धुंधला सा अंधियारा है, दीपक से उजियारा होगा। ये आँख भी तन का दीपक है, ये ज्ञान जीवन दीपक होगा। यहाँ हमारा तन होगा, वहाँ हमारा मन होगा। हर शिव की याद रहेगी तब, आँखों में समाया वो होगा। हम धन्य तभी बन